in right now, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning and welcome to the PA FAFSA Go statewide call to action webinar. Thank you so much for being here today to ensure that all of Pennsylvania's students and families have an affordable pathway to their post-secondary credentials next year. My name's Dr. Carrie Rowe. I am the Department of Education's Deputy Secretary for the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education. I'm joined here this morning by two colleagues. First, the Department of Education's Deputy Secretary and Commissioner of the Post-Secondary and Higher Education Office, Dr. Kate Shaw. And also joining me on screen right now is FIA's Director of Pennsylvania School Services, Deanna Brown. I want you to know that both FIA and PDE have team members monitoring the question and answer feature of this webinar. I see that some of you have already found that. Please enter your questions throughout the webinar, and they will try to answer as many of your questions as possible. And anything that they can't get to will be included in the follow-up materials. And that was actually the first question that I saw in the question and answer was, will these slides be shared? And the answer to that is yes. Don't feel like you have to take screenshots or anything like that. These slides will be shared along with key resources and contact information, and we will share those after the webinar. So let's get to our agenda. We've split this presentation into four major sections. The first section is why FAFSA is key in the Keystone State. And we're just going to give you an overview of the dollars that are unlocked when the FAFSA is completed and a couple of other key items to make sure that we're all on the same page. You are also going to hear from a student who graduated from Philadelphia School District, and you're going to hear about what the FAFSA meant to her with her post-secondary path. The second section of this presentation will be the FAFSA completion concern section. Naturally, you've probably heard about some of the delays and glitches that the Better FAFSA has experienced. We want to go over some of those along with why this one is kind of the new and improved version. We want to talk to you about the completion status that we have so far. We'll give you the most up-to-date information as well as some timelines for PA state aid. Then you're going to hear from a Pennsylvania college counselor to hear some of his impressions about what K-12 practitioners and students need to drive the completion rate. The third section will be resources and assistance that's available from FIA. And finally, the call to action, what we need from all of you with all hands on deck. So we'll move on to the first section, which is the FAFSA dollars that are unlocked by FAFSA for students in Pennsylvania. There's some things that I'm sure that many of you already know. First, students can receive up to $7,400 in federal Pell Grants and up to $5,700 in PA state grants. This totals over $13,000 for Pennsylvania students and families who have the greatest financial need. Some of the things that you might forget or you might overlook when we talk about FAFSA are that the FAFSA also unlocks the federal and state work study dollars. So students, while they're studying, can also earn dollars and gain work experience. Also, a lot of scholarships, most institutional grants, and many national and local scholarships rely on the information from the FAFSA. And then we have federal student loans. It's important to remember that students and families from all income levels are eligible for federal student loans, which generally have the lowest and the best rates, interest rates, and they also have the most repayment options, including income-driven and public service forgiveness opportunities. I also want to remind you about about how FAFSA unlocks aid for Pennsylvania's post-secondary institutions, from two-year community colleges to Pennsylvania's state system universities, Thaddeus Stevens Technical College and Rural Regional College, our state-related universities like Temple, Lincoln, Penn State, and Pitt, and all of Pennsylvania's nearly 100 private colleges and universities. They're all relying on this FAFSA completion. You also should know that many of the career and technical centers and post-secondary proprietary programs across the state also leverage the financial aid dollars that are unlocked by the FAFSA to make their programs affordable for PA learners. These are programs that include things like welding or commercial driving, allied health professions, nursing, and medical assisting. So FAFSA does so much for students. We should hear from a student. And I'd like to introduce to you Ella Wilkerson of Philadelphia. Ella is a graduate of the School District of Philadelphia in 2020. And this is the last day that I can say that she is a student at Temple University in the School of Social Work, because I'm told that she graduates tomorrow with her bachelor's degree. Congratulations, Ella. And she will be moving on, I'm told, for her master's of social work. She is a candidate there. So we asked Ella the questions that are on the screen so that we can learn a little bit about FAFSA from a student experience. Ella, let's hear from you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I am graduating tomorrow. Thank you. I am a master's in social work candidate. I'm very excited. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk about my experience as a student, especially in the city of Philadelphia, and being, coming from a low income community in the urban area. So I'm just gonna go through the three questions at the bottom of the screen if everyone can see it. So how has FAFSA been a key to my journey to my degree? That's what has been the biggest thing for me for getting my degree, to be able to graduate college tomorrow without zero debt at all. Without FAFSA, I would have to pay partly out of pocket, and coming from a low income family, that would have not worked for me. I would not be able to pay all that money at all, even if it is $5,000, $6,000, or even if it is $200, $300. FAFSA was really helpful in that, not having to have come from like working, having a check every day. It was just something that was really meaningful to me, and I'm really grateful that I got the max amount for FAFSA. What resources were most helpful for me to complete FAFSA? The most helpful resources were college prep programs such as Heights Philadelphia, and even if anyone knows the 12 Plus program, which is in Philadelphia and Camden, New Jersey. Without those college prep program, I feel like I would have been so confused doing FAFSA. I see a lot of people in the chat, they also were confused with FAFSA and FIA grants, and being part of those college prep programs have actually, it narrowed it down. I think because especially coming into, if you're not aware of FAFSA, it can be so confusing to just even look at it, to even start it, not knowing where to start. And being part of those college prep programs were really, I was really grateful for the experience. They helped with answering questions about it, made sure my information was correct. We knew all the deadlines, when it was about to close, when it opened, so we can do our FAFSA right away. So for all the students out there and parents that I see in the chat, I personally would recommend maybe more high schools coming to in urban areas or across the state, working with those college prep programs, because it was one of the biggest things for me that was helpful to me. I know that there are some, at least in the city of Philadelphia and surrounding areas, that if you do need help with FAFSA, that there are programs that will help you if you contact them. There are other organizations, at least like I said, in the surrounding area of Philadelphia, that do help kids with FAFSA if need be. I think because FAFSA has been open late, I think there are still doing it. I'm not sure about the rest of the state, unfortunately, but that is one place I know where students and parents could go to in the city of Philadelphia. I just also think that working with community-based organizations and college prep programs across the state would really help with everybody being less confused. I know as a person who didn't do the FAFSA this year, I can't say that I did it this year, but I know that it was so confusing for everyone not knowing when the deadline was. Because even though I wasn't doing the FAFSA this year, I still got those emails that it got pushed back, unfortunately. So I understand that everyone is really confused about it. So I hope one day working with those college prep programs across the state would help and come to fruition. I also hope that in the future, like the state of PA and the PA Ed department could maybe possibly work with counselors in the future, then maybe have them trained to help students and parents guide them with FAFSA. I know that is something that unfortunately might not be in, we might not have the money for it, and there's a lack of counselors across the state, even across the country. But it is something that is really big because we see here today 400 people are here, and God knows who else would have been here if they knew about this, what was going on. That so many people are confused, so many people don't know what's going on. And I hope that more counselors across the state are aware of how to do it and can help our students. That's all I have today. Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope everyone does their FAFSA and gets it correct. I know that it's been a crazy year. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ella. It's really inspiring to hear your story. And I can tell you that everybody on this call is here because we are rooting for our students in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And when we see a student like you graduate from college with no debt, committed to the well-being of other people, pursuing a master's degree in social work, that's why we do what we do. And that's why we're on the call today, because we want more students to be in the position that you're in. We want them to get through college with as low debt as possible. So thanks so much for telling us your story. Right now, I just want to go through a few things to help orient everybody on the call about where we are with FAFSA completion in Pennsylvania. So one of the things we have to make sure that we're doing in Pennsylvania is tracking our FAFSA completion rates, because with that information, we'll know how to target support and to increase submission before the summertime comes. So we know that we've got FAFSA completion data, and it's made regularly available at the link on this slide. And again, this PowerPoint deck is going to be made available to everybody and posted, I believe, on PDE's website and hopefully FIA's website, so that people can go to these hyperlinks and get the information that they want. And also, it's important to know that the National College Attainment Network gives us comparative data with their FAFSA tracker to show us sort of where we are with completion. And the news is pretty grim. Our analysis, or FIA's analysis, shows that our FAFSA submission rates are down by about a little bit over 16% compared to last year. And that is really concerning for our students. It's really concerning for the institutions that want to serve them as well. So this is, an all hands on deck situation. So here's some data that shows us where we are with regard to completion rates so far. And you can see that there is no group of students here shown on this slide, whether they be high income, low income, whether they're from districts that are high income, low income, high minority, low minority, or by geographic locale, that has even a 50% completion rate at this point. But one of the things that you can see in the blue bars is that some populations of students are falling farther behind than others. So students that are coming from lower income school districts have a lower completion rate, or the completion rate has dropped farther than students from higher income school districts. The same is true with regard to high minority versus lower minority school districts. We see a substantial drop off in the percentage of students that are completing FAFSA. And so when you look at this information across the board, what you see is we see, lower completion rates in general, but not surprisingly, given how things are structured in this country, the students who need federal and state financial aid the most are precisely those students that are being harmed the most by the confusion around FAFSA. And so it's incumbent upon all of us to work together to get these numbers up overall, but to be particularly sure that the students who are most likely to need the maximum Pell and FIA grants are filling out the FAFSA. Here's another interesting way to look at our FAFSA completion rates and the degree to which the submission rates are down. You can see this is sort of a heat map where the darkest color represents the counties that have the sharpest drop in FAFSA completion. And you can see across the Commonwealth, we see counties, in different parts of the Commonwealth that have really low submission rates. Philadelphia is an area of obvious concern, simply because there's so many students that live in Philadelphia. So when we see low completion rates in a city like Philadelphia, that tells us that a lot of people in the Commonwealth are not completing. But we also see counties across the Commonwealth, Indiana County, Fayette County, Wayne County, et cetera. So it's important to note that we've got these problems all over the Commonwealth, and it's going to take all of us to lean in, look at the data, identify where the completion rates are lowest, and try to turn that around. And this is just a reminder of what the timeline looks like for our students with regard to financial aid. We've only got 3.5 weeks left to increase our FAFSA completion rates because June 1 is the submission deadline for FAFSA, and it's the deadline for Pennsylvania state aid as well. We see also that we've got most high schools graduating in early June, and what that means is that they're not going to have access to the counselors that have been helping them. And we also see that August 1st is the deadline for first-time community college students. So we have a tight timeline in front of us, and there is a really pressing need to take this next 3.5 weeks and do everything we can before that June 1st deadline. So what I'm going to do next is to introduce the coordinator of college and career services from the School District of Lancaster, Phil Jago, and he's going to tell us from his vantage point what is happening in the FAFSA completion state. So Phil, I'm handing it off to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for having me. For those of us that work directly with students, this is such an emotionally charged topic, so I've tried to lay out my answers relating to the 3 questions you see on the screen, and I'll be reading from a script, but try and make it a little less wooden. So in answer to that first question, as we know, the FAFSA unlocks potentially thousands of dollars in federal and state aid that can help to fund both traditional 2- and 4-year college opportunities and various post-secondary options. We're fortunate in Lancaster County to have over 20 different institutions where students can earn post-secondary credentials from certificates to doctoral degrees. And most of these institutions accept federal and state aid in the form of the Pell Grant, the PA State Grant, or PA TIP funding for high-need occupations. Lancaster County has a robust and diverse economy with jobs paying a family-sustaining wage available in most career clusters. However, we know that in order to access those jobs, our students need one more credential beyond their high school diploma, and that process begins with the FAFSA. Despite the relative prosperity and energized job market in our county, many students in the School District of Lancaster must rely heavily on the Pell and PA state grants to access post-secondary education that will lead to employment in a good-paying job. Approximately 88% of our 10,000 students qualify for free or reduced school lunch. 86% of our student body is from historically underrepresented backgrounds. On any given day in the School District of Lancaster, 10% or more of our students and their families are at risk of experiencing homelessness. Most of our students who choose to attend college will be the first in their family to do so. Any one of these barriers would be a significant challenge for a student aspiring to college, and I know that many of you around the state work with similarly determined, talented, persistent, and inspiring students every day to break down the barriers that stand in their way, in a state that ranks in the bottom 5 in funding per student to public universities, and at the top of the list for cost of college and individual student loan debt. The disastrous rollout of the FAFSA this year has given students and their families an additional mountain to climb, and we are still not through those difficulties. Students who've been accepted to schools have not yet received all their financial aid award letters, even while some colleges are pressuring them to put down large enrollment deposits. Some families have been so frustrated and defeated by the new simplified FAFSA that they have simply not engaged with the process at all. Even now in May, we are discovering new bugs and glitches with the system that are preventing FAFSAs from going through. And for parents without a social security number, issues persist. Perhaps one of the biggest challenges of all is that for first-generation college students and their families, they simply don't know what they don't know. The families fiercely advocating for their aid, and I applaud each and every one of them for that, have possibly engaged with the system before and know something isn't right, while the first-timers are waiting, putting their trust in a process that has failed them consistently. Our graduating class of 2024, who began their high school careers at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, studying on iPads from home or whenever they could safely access Wi-Fi, are at risk of missing out on the post-secondary opportunities and future careers they truly deserve, unless we can pull together and encourage and enable more families to complete the FAFSA by June 1st. So in terms of some of the resources that have helped us drive completion here, we've attended training as far back as last summer, provided by NCAN, the National College Attainment Network, in partnership with the U.S. Department of Education. We've partnered with FIA, and a special shout out to our regional partner, Dr. Sonia Mann-McFarlane, to provide information programming for families in the build-up to the late December rollout. Internally, our greatest resource truly is the time and effort that our staff put into making FAFSA a priority. We completed our annual FAFSA phone blitz, leaning on the support of almost 60 internal staff members within the district to place a phone call to every single family in the district with a senior to let them know that the FAFSA is open and available. We offered these calls in as many home languages as we were able to support in a short time frame. We've hosted 5 different FAFSA completion workshops since December, first focusing on FSA IDs and subsequently on FAFSA completion. We offer these with appointments as early as 8 a.m. and as late as 7 p.m. in order to try and meet our families where they are in terms of work schedules and other family commitments and childcare. We've utilized high school and district social media to amplify our message with reminders and blog posts about the importance of the FAFSA. We've sent direct messages to students and families through our student information system, Schoology, and other channels. We've tailored and individualized our communication to students based on student information system data, specifically targeting students who have applied to and or been accepted into at least one college. We've done all of this with a team of 11 school counselors, 6 members of the Future Ready team, including our Pennsylvania College Advising Corps college advisors, our local college partners, our national resource partner in NCAN, the National College Attainment Network, and all the community resources at our disposal in a district that is resource rich. And despite all of that, per the US Department of Education data, we are still 61 applications and crucially 64 FAFSA completions behind where we were this time last year. This work is hard, but this work is so important. And to answer that final question, what's the most important action for college access leaders to take right now to close the completion gap? Simply, the most important thing is do not give up. Do not give up on your students and their families. As our seniors start to think about graduation, continue to engage them in thinking about what comes after graduation. Remind them that even if they're not thinking about college right now, they may change their mind over the summer. Plans change, life happens. Or as certainly as they see their friends taking that next step and going away to college, they may have a change of heart. Leverage all the partnerships in your network to amplify this message. College partners, community organizations, clubs, sports teams, religious organizations, whoever holds some influence in your students' lives. Even if they aren't hearing it from you, make sure they're hearing it from someone. Lean on your FIA partners, use the toolkits provided by industry leaders like NCAN, and just keep trying to engage families. And if you have the capacity, consider asking for volunteers, or if you can make it work, paid work over the summer, have those people engaging in summer melt work. All the messaging around the June 1st FAFSA is super important, but from what we know, the August 1st deadline remains for students attending that 2-year or technical school. Summer melt will be a bigger challenge than ever this year, and the more support we can provide students to help them stay engaged with the process and matriculate to college, the better. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful information and that guidance. So now we are actually going to talk about some of the resources available. So as part of FIA's public service mission, we assist families with all aspects of the financial aid process. We have 13 higher education access partners located throughout the state of Pennsylvania, and they are broken up by county. And we help students and families, schools, and community organizations with all aspects of the financial aid process, including how to complete the FAFSA form. This school year, we have done over 694 financial aid nights where we talk about how to complete the FAFSA, the application process, what happens after you apply. We've also conducted over 716 FAFSA completion workshops. These are workshops where we walk families through how to complete the FAFSA step by step. In addition to that, in the fall, we had over 37 counselor workshops where we educate high school counselors as well as educators on how to complete the FAFSA and all of the different changes that happened with FAFSA simplification this year. We've done some notable outreach FAFSA events. We had a statewide FAFSA webinar with Senator Bob Casey's office. We also did a FAFSA financial aid webinar with the Department of Treasury, and we did a great FAFSA completion session in conjunction with the Pennsylvania Department of Education at the State Library. So as FIA and as PA School Services, our access partners provide resources and training to all PA higher education stakeholders. That includes K-12 school leaders, our high school counselors, community-based organizations, post-secondary schools, and of course, our students and families. One of the initiatives that we are actually doing this month is we are having FAFSA virtual office hours. We're dedicating every Wednesday in May from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. to make ourselves available to assist families with the FAFSA. So families can contact us and we can do a virtual FAFSA completion to help complete the FAFSA. In addition to that, we are available to answer any questions that families or high school counselors have about the FAFSA. Families and schools can contact us at any time, but these Wednesdays are dedicated office hours specifically to help drive FAFSA completion numbers. We also have been conducting and are continuing to conduct statewide FAFSA webinars. These are webinars that can be registered for on our website on fia.org/virtual. These are free 1-hour webinars where we walk you through how to complete the FAFSA line by line. In addition to that, we are doing Hershey Park Education Days throughout the month of May. So every Friday at Hershey Park, we have a table set up where we are distributing information to families in regards to the FAFSA. We also believe in training the trainers. So we are also doing a FAFSA overview with the PA Office of Vocational Rehabilitation later in the month so that they can make sure that they're up to date on all of the FAFSA changes. We have been continuing and will continue to send FAFSA reminder emails to our renewal applicants to make sure that they are completing the FAFSA. We've put lots of information and are continuing to put information on our social media and digital marketing campaigns, reminding families about the FAFSA and reminding them about the deadline extension to June 1st in order to qualify for the Pennsylvania State Grant. So you want to make sure that families are submitting their FAFSA as soon as they can by June 1st. We've also been putting information in our monthly newsletters, and these newsletters are sent to secondary and post-secondary schools as well as community partners. We send communication to the General Assembly, and we've also been conducting Higher Education Access Corner podcast, and the FAFSA has come up many times on those different podcasts. We've got a variety of different financial aid and FAFSA materials available on our website. This information can be ordered and it can be shipped to your office or to your home free of charge. We've got FAFSA tip sheets. We've got brochures and information on how to create an FSA ID, as well as how to find out who the contributor is on the FAFSA. A lot of these publications are also available in Spanish, so please take advantage of these materials if you have not already done so. We have a FAFSA toolkit for counselors and partners. This is a toolkit that can be used by counselors to prepare for FAFSA completion sessions at their high school. It includes PDFs, flyers, school publications, newspaper articles, and planning information. And finally, we have got a one-stop FAFSA resource site for students and parents. This is a great resource because it combines all of our FAFSA resources into one easy site for students and parents to access. The website is fia.org/FAFSA help. It is a one-stop resource for students and families. We've got FAFSA and financial aid videos on there. We have FAFSA FAQs. We've got downloadable tip sheets, and we have links to public FAFSA completion events that may be happening in your area. We also have our Access Partner contact information available so that you can contact us for one-on-one assistance with the FAFSA or ask any questions. We have links to our virtual statewide webinars, as well as recordings for people that are unable to attend. Students can also opt into communications from FIA to make sure that they don't miss any reminders. So now I'm going to actually turn it over to Alyssa Dobson, Director of Financial Aid and Scholarships at Slippery Rock University, for a perspective from a financial aid director.
Hi, everybody. So I'm just going to go through and address the questions on the slide and talk a little bit about what FAFSA means for Slippery Rock and for financial aid officers generally. So there's a lot of reasons why FAFSA completion is important. Probably one of the most self-serving is that for the incoming freshman cohort, a filed FAFSA is one of the strongest indicators of enrollment. It's essentially a security against that summer melt. However, the FAFSA shows an opportunity. It's the only window to affordability. So many, and maybe even most of our Pennsylvania families are not aware that the needy families in our state, that's going to be those families that qualify for the full federal Pell Grant as well as the Pennsylvania State Grant. Their tuition and fees at Slippery Rock are actually more than covered. And all they need to do to access that is get that FAFSA filed. And that's before any institutional aid or even other external scholarships are applied. So those families must file the FAFSA in order to receive that communication. To further exemplify this, we were actually able to, for the families that were able to successfully get that FAFSA submitted, we sent our financial aid offers to them on April 19th, and we continue to do so weekly. But in that first batch, there were about 2,300 families, but there was $4.9 million of federal Pell Grant within those packages that was shown to Pennsylvania families. And I think that really goes a long way to show the power of FAFSA. And again, the only way to receive that communication is to get that document filed. Now, of course, there's more than just freshmen to consider. My plea to those listening is don't forget about your continuing students as well. These students rely on funding, and we're ever so grateful that the state grant deadline was extended, but that just makes our job even more important. It gives us more time to communicate with those continuing students to ensure that they get their FAFSA filed timely as well. And so for assistance, that's been tricky. It was really hard at the beginning because the FAFSA was wrought with errors and timeouts, and families would be in the application and then kicked out. So what we have begun to do now, since we are seeing some of those issues being mitigated and a lot of fixes put into place, is we have embarked on our FAFSA Go campaign, and that includes direct calls home to the families. We intentionally waited on beginning this outreach until some of those bugs were worked out. And we, instead of offering financial aid nights, because they're very restrictive, and if your schedule doesn't permit you to to attend, you might feel left out, and it may be your only opportunity to get that done. So we have an open invitation within our office. We have a bank of computers there, and families can come. They can begin the FAFSA process there. But what we're seeing more of currently is families coming that either need to get back into sign and provide consent. And so we've been helping a lot of families work through that process currently as well. And last year, our FAFSA Go campaign was more about complete the FAFSA, get the FAFSA done, complete the FAFSA. But we kind of switched gears for this year, given the number of rejected FAFSAs that we had been receiving. And we did a direct outreach to get that FAFSA signed. And we saw we had a reduction of rejected for FAFSA signature ICERs. An ICER is the institutional record for those that are on the call who may not know what that is. It's the school's version of the FAFSA. We had 700 of those come in that were not able to be signed, and now we're down to less than 80 applications that need to be signed. So once again, don't forget about those continuing students. They're also struggling. This is new for them too, and I think because we're all focused on that initial application, they can sometimes be left in the wayside. So actions that I would recommend for financial aid officers to help close the completion gap would be to make yourself available. You know, it's difficult, and I get that, because this is not our application. We don't necessarily own it. We don't have the ability to fix a lot of the issues, but we do have the ability to listen to the families, to assist the families, offer your expertise. We have even started making troubleshooting PDFs, if you will, and we can offer those to families too who need to log in to make corrections and get that FAFSA signed. So I would recommend visiting the PA FAFSA Go website that PDE has established. There are a lot of great resources there, including how to build your PA FAFSA Go team. Ours has become invaluable to us at Slippery Rock, and we utilize our graduate assistants and federal student workers to assist with those efforts, and it really does. It's very helpful for our families. And so with that, I will pass it to Karen, who is going to talk about the call to action.
Thanks so much, Alyssa. And I have to just acknowledge Slippery Rock's good work with financial aid prior to this difficult year and through this difficult year. So with that, I'm Karen Rubicam. I'm the school counselor advisor for the Pennsylvania Department of Education. We have, thanks to our presenters today, a good understanding of the impacts on students and families that the FAFSA delays have caused, the urgency for FAFSA submissions by June 1st, and the many resources and supports available from FIA. So now, with this call to action, we turn to you to support this important work in your respective roles. Schools and college access counselors. These last weeks of school for seniors are busy, and for sure, with AP and Keystone exams and end of year responsibilities, but it is so important to carve out time for outreach and engagement with your access partner, your local post-secondary institutions, and any organizations who have been supporting you through this work in your school community. Students tell us that they prefer to get information from social media, so use your channels that you have to engage them in FAFSA related resources. There's a link here for some things you can use, and some of those were also added to the professional learning community in SAS for school counselors. Follow up with your seniors individually to see what their plans are. Are they set? Are they good? Has this process happened for them? Were they able to sign the form for the folks that had challenges? Were they able to make corrections and add schools? Just kind of see where they are and encourage them to utilize their financial aid office at their prospective school for support. Those folks are, in this together with us. They want to be a support to families and students. NACAC does provide a directory of colleges that are still accepting applications if you have students that have delayed the process because of all of these challenges with financial aid. So are you not sure how your school is doing? I know we saw some questions about BPAMS in the chat. I love BPAMS. It's a great resource. It's delayed because of all these changes with FAFSA. But you can find out how your school is doing by numbers and by percentage. So that's available through NCAN and also through the data center at studentaid.gov. Next slide.
Thank you, Karen. So call to action, financial aid officers. What can financial aid officers do to increase FAFSA completion? Definitely try to partner with your local area high schools and school districts so that you can see where the most need is at, and then you are able to deploy your resources to those high need schools. Make sure you are reviewing the Federal Student Aid FAFSA completion data information on the Department of Ed's site to see where there might be schools that are down in submissions. Reach out to your K-12 partners, reach out to those high schools to see how you can be of assistance. Definitely partner with us, partner with your FIA Access partners. We can assist with FAFSA completion sessions. If you would like to have additional FAFSA completions on your campus, please reach out to us and we can assist with those events. Also, we encourage schools to send out email or text reminders to students to remind them to complete the FAFSA. And then also be sure to utilize the FIA FAFSA toolkits for any information to assist you with your in-class or evening support for any FAFSA assistance that you might be offering. Community-based organizations, very, very important. A lot of times at high schools that are challenged with the number of counselors that they have, these community-based organizations are where students are going for information. So again, reach out to your higher education financial aid officers, reach out to your K-12 school counselors and see how you can make an impact. Look at the FIA FAFSA toolkits to see what additional resources that we can assist you with. And also make sure that you are keeping your offices up to date with the latest and greatest FAFSA information. Again, all of that information can be ordered from our website and shipped to your offices. So please utilize all of these different resources.
And finally, as we wrap up our time together today, talking about this very important issue, you have the opportunity to keep the conversation going. You can sign up to be connected with colleagues and either receive or give assistance in your area related to FAFSA completion. But this form is only available through May 9th. So if you're interested in doing that, you need to do that pretty soon. Please share this information about FAFSA in your networks, focusing on the benefits of completion for all students by June 1st. Even if you're not sure if you want to go to post-secondary after high school of any sort, having this in place could be a help down the road should students make that decision. Share the FIA toolkit with students and families, as well as your larger school community. Your classes are winding down and there might be an opportunity for some of your teachers in class to share this information with students. And consider signing up to be a FAFSA Go advocate and certify your commitment to supporting every Pennsylvania learner and having access to an affordable post-secondary education. As Phil said, we need to not give up. We need to come together to amplify this very important message. And with that, we'll go to the last slide. Thanks so much to all of today's presenters for sharing their perspectives on this important topic, to FIA for the support that they are providing year-round to students and families, as well as educators on FAFSA and financial aid. And thanks to all of you for joining us today to talk about and share your commitment to access and affordability for Pennsylvania's learners. You will be receiving the slide deck from today's session. Our contact information, Deanna and mine, is on the slide. If you would need anything following this presentation, we're happy to be a support to you. And with that, I'll turn it back to Dr. Rowe and Dr. Shaw.
I just want to jump in and thank, first of all, we have over 500 participants on this webinar. So that's a clear indication of the need and the interest that we have to work together. And I know that there were a lot of really good questions in the chat. Obviously, we're not going to have time to answer them all today, but when we do send out materials to participants, we will be including an FAQ that does our very best to answer the questions that have been posed. And we understand that they're time sensitive, so we will do everything we can to turn that around quickly. But I want to thank my colleagues at FIA and also my colleagues in the Department of Education. I think what you're seeing here is a concerted, unified effort on the part of us, in Harrisburg, and also across the Commonwealth with all of you to get our students across the finish line. So with that, if my colleague Carrie Rowe wants to close us out, I'm happy to hand it off to her.
I'm not sure there's much more to say, but thank you all for being here. You can certainly reach out to any of us. We'll look forward to working with you and to getting those completion rates up so that students have a clear pathway forward. Thank you so much, and this will conclude our webinar today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.